What's going on, everybody? We are back. Episode number 225 of the Club and Sub Podcast. Tonight we're chatting UFC 317, headlined by a couple of title fights. Alexandre Pantoja defended his throne again against Kai Kara France, and we're going to crown a new lightweight champion. Ilia Topuria taking on Charles Oliveira. Banger fight. Pretty banger card in the aggregate. I'm pretty excited for it. Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Before we get into it, though, guys, drop a like, subscribe, help us out, share if you see fit. And yeah, that's real quick. We can talk about last week very briefly. I only had one bet on it. I had Muhammad Nemov at minus 215 to win a unit and a half. It won. I felt pretty indifferent about it. I felt like Nemov could have made it a lot easier than he did. Didn't really pull the trigger at all with his boxing. Didn't really proactively grapple at all. Actually spent a lot of time getting grappled, which was mildly surprising. Dick's Insider saying, is Alexieva a bum? Yes, she is a bum. Sadly, I actually bet right before the fight, Sejula round 3 plus 3,300. That gave me an aneurysm, unfortunately.
Sure. I mean, I bet the unders. I bet the under, so it gave. I mean, the whole fight gave me an aneurysm. So
yeah, it was ugly. So yeah. But yeah, it was a very small card for me. I didn't have a ton of strong opinions on it. Just kept it tight. Have a few more this week. I think it's a pretty good card to bet on. Pretty good card for entertainment. Lags, how'd you do over the weekend?
It's a great card for betting. Speaking of that first, like UFC 317.
Yeah.
I only lost half a unit, so I only had 2 plays. So that under that we're talking about. So I had a unit and a half on that. So that was just, again, abysmal to watch. And then I had the Iron Turtle to win a unit and a half, which, again, the state of like judging and reffing these days, like to me, just again, still baffles me. I don't know how we're not just giving Park like a DQ win there after 2 eye pokes and then another foul, like another like knee to another opponent. Like,
so I agree. I was very, very confused how they did not stop that fight. I was literally.
No, I'm glad they took 2. I'm glad they took 2 points, but like that.
No, I mean, dude, it seemed. I honestly thought Park was going to get knocked out going back out there because he did not seem okay. Like he was wobbling around, walking out there. He couldn't see, and they let the fight go on. Like they should have stopped the fight, pretty obviously. But in general, though, I guess before you say I sort of anything else. I don't think the judging was as bad this weekend as the market does. Like I see people saying Kuniev like was a robbery. I bet Blades live in round 3. Like I thought it was a pretty clear 2-1 in my opinion.
I'll be honest, I didn't get a chance to see that one in particular.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, people were talking about how Kuniev was landing. Blades outlanded him 61-19 in total strikes, hurt him, and held him in the clinch for 3 minutes. And people were shocked that he won round 3. I don't know. Seemed odd to me. But yeah, I mean, let's hop into this one. We got Nico Price taking on Jacoby Smith. Current price, Jacoby Smith's minus 1,800. The comeback on Nico Price is plus 900. Frankly, I think the matchmaking here is like pretty gross. Nico's washed. Yeah. The guy's basically stitched together by Scotch tape at this point in his career, and he's fighting an absolute animal in Jacoby Smith. I don't have a lot to say about it. Smith, I think Smith is going to destroy him and likely finish him very, very early in this fight. I don't understand why, if you're going to keep Nico Price around, just put him in like stupid action fights with guys like Morono, like the Morono fight. Like, why are you giving him to Jacoby Smith to just like he might kill him? Honestly, he might commit a homicide. Right. So, yeah, like, I have nothing to say. Smith's way better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much to say about it. Smith's a much better fighter at this point in their careers. Obviously, if this was 5-6 years ago, I wouldn't feel that way. But like Jacoby Smith's an athletic freak with great grappling and a ton of horsepower. He's probably going to take him down and finish him fairly early in this fight. What do you think, Legs?
Yeah, what I was just going to chime in on was just that, like, I know Court McGee just fought, but like those are the kind of types of guys that like we should be giving Nico Price. Like these older vet guys, like have fun fights, like a Morono type. Again, like you said, perfect fight. He just went from Themba, and now we're fighting Jacoby Smith. I mean, Themba was a more
and that's the funny thing. Like Themba was more reasonable than this is. Like Jacoby Smith would violate 100%. Themba Garimbo. That this is. I personally, I don't want to make too bold proclamations about him so early in his career. I'm very high on Jacoby Smith, though. The dude's an athletic freak. He's a sick wrestler. He's got sick ground and pound.
Carter seems pretty good too.
I am very, very, very Carter. So far, I mean, we have to. That's hard to really say that, but
Yep.
Is this Abdul Malik Brundage 2.0? I really don't think so. I don't.
No.
I don't think Jacoby Smith's going to be scared of him at all. I'm moving on, though. We'll get off this one. We got Janata Diniz taking on another debutant in Alvin Hines. Current price, Diniz is minus 299. The comeback on Hines, plus 249. What are your thoughts here, Lex?
So we were chatting about this one a little bit before the pod, and to me, it just kind of profiles like similar to a fight we broke down a couple of weeks ago in Medeiros Chawinski, in the sense that like I think Hines profiles as like a guy who can probably give Diniz issues, but like at the same time, I don't think he's at the level of Diniz. Like you look at the guys he's fighting in the regional scene. I mean, there are a lot of cab drivers really, but I mean he's pretty well rounded though. Looks to come forward, looks to land takedowns, get you to the clinch. He's got horrible striking though, to be honest. Like if they're at space at any time, I think Diniz can land hard here, probably even knock him out. So for me, it's a pass.
Personally, I think Diniz is going to assassinate him fairly easily. Is my gut instinct here. I get why there might be some interest in Hines because he does wrestle a lot, and obviously, can you guys hear my son screaming in the background?
A little bit, yeah.
Lovely.
That's all right.
But obviously,
he's screaming for this fight. He's so he's passionate about this fight.
Really big Janata Diniz fan.
I know.
But obviously, that threw me off. Obviously, Hines hasn't fought anybody. His wrestling to me does not look very, very good at all. It looks bad. He's getting down guys who aren't all that athletic, but I've seen him get out grappled by, not too good grapplers as well. He looks very, very slow on the feet to me. Very, very hittable. His cardio looks pretty suspect to me. The guy, like every time he enters around 2, he seems to slow down. And like, look, Diniz has his issues, right? The guy got absolutely mauled by Marcin Tybura, but Marcin Tybura is a top 10 heavyweight and has been for ages. Whereas, this guy's got 6 fights in the LFA. I mean, the difference in speed here is insane. The difference in power is insane. The difference in level of competition is insane. Maybe it turns out Hines can get a couple takedowns and ride this out, but I project him to get less than 2 takedowns in this fight. I'm not even sure if he gets a takedown that he's going to unnecessarily hold Diniz down. Diniz is still, reasonably young in his career in MMA. Yeah, I mean, because it's not like he's going to be
making any improvements in that realm. Maybe the takedown defense, but once he is flat off his back, I don't see many improvements personally.
I just look at Hines and I don't see someone who's really, locking down control,
That's
so
fair.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Diniz cruises here. I mean, I'm not laying minus 300 on Diniz, but I do think the price here is pretty fine to me.
All right.
And to your point, you brought up the Chawinski fight. That's fair, but you brought up the Chawinski fight. But Chawinski actually had a reasonably solid grappling pedigree from a pretty good gym. Hines is talking about.
I'm not comparing backgrounds in that sense. I guess more so just the level disparity really when it actually came to the UFC fight. But yeah, I get your point there.
Yeah, I just it's this guy's taking the fight on very, very short notice. Diniz was booked for a fight already. I feel like it should be him all day.
That's fair.
But anyway, moving on. We got Tadrigas Dumas taking on Jackson McVey. I'll tell you what, the start of this card, not so sexy. What are your thoughts here? The current price, we got McVey is a favorite. He's minus 145. The comeback, or minus 148. The comeback on Dumas is plus 128. What do you think?
Well, I will say after those first 2 fights, I think this is where it gets interesting, this fight, because again, had no knowledge of Jackson McVey before coming into this. I watch all of his regional fights, watch all of his amateur fights too. They all end in round 1. The guy's looking to do the same thing pretty much every single fight. He's looking to close distance, get you to the clinch, and he's looking for trip takedowns. I think he could probably take down Dumas, to be honest with you. And I honestly think he can sub him too. He's got a pretty dangerous submission game. So at plus 300, and then when it comes on FanDuel, DraftKings, 4-1 maybe 450. I think him by sub's a nice look.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I also feel though, Jackson McVey is, I don't know. I mean, he's got 6 finishes, but he's fought pretty much the absolute bottom of the barrel. Yeah. I don't think he's a particularly good striker. I don't think his grappling is going to translate particularly well to the UFC. He's dangerous. He's going to go for it from the jump. But I feel just because Zachary Reese's cardio is held up better than expected doesn't mean that most guys who are round 1 finish merchants on the regional scene, they're going to have good cardio. I think it's pretty likely his cardio is bad, to be honest. So And he's taken a big step up in competition here. Like this is a giant step up. So he's the kind of guy I'd like to fade, but like,
would you say it's a giant step up though?
I mean, I'm getting to that. He's
okay,
the kind of guy
that
he would normally like to fade, but Cedricus Dumas is just not. I mean, I have been hammering this drum since the day Cedricus Dumas debuted in the UFC. But there's literally, I mean, he's one of the worst fighters on the roster. Like, I said it early on in his career. Like, people talked about him like he was this athletic specimen, and I'm like, I don't see it. The guy's fucking slow. He's hittable. He's a bad grappler. He doesn't have very good cardio. He does have a couple of wins in the UFC against Dennis Talulin, who's also at the bottom of the barrel of the roster, and Abu Azaitar in a fight. You can make a pretty good argument that he lost that fight, who is also at the bottom of the barrel. I don't know.
Too.
I feel like on principle, it's kind of hard to do business with McVey at this price. The guy's only got 6 fights in his career. This is pretty short notice for him. He's taken on a guy with more than double the experience, who is a bit, a bit like longer, a bit lankier than him. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have like the thing is, if Dumas had like toughness in his game, I would bet him here. Just because I'd be happy to gamble against McVey being, a guy whose finishes are going to translate.
Fragile round one guy.
Yeah. And also just because, I mean, this debuting on a huge pay-per-view, like in front of the bright lights and the big octagon.
A lot of jitters.
Yeah, exactly. But like Dumas, the first sign of adversity just gives up. I mean, we've seen it happen multiple times now. It happened against Fremd. It happened against Ruzaboev. Every time this guy gets forced into adversity, he gives up. And McVey's the kind of guy who's going to come at him pretty hard. And with that dynamic, I'm going to stick. Do I need to have money on Cedricus Dumas ever?
No,
I do not. I do not.
I just think McVey's going to attempt a lot of submissions early here and just put him in a lot of dangerous shit. To your point, though, Dumas gets caught in and just panics a bit. I think he's probably just going to tap early. I think we get a sub 1 number at like 750 maybe. 8-1.
Yeah. I mean, Lima, honestly, Dumas had. I could actually see Dumas tapping McVey. Honestly, it wouldn't be like the craziest thing ever. Yeah, I don't know. I just like these guys like McVey, man. Like, don't get me wrong. Some of them have worked out, and I guess to some degree, Zach Reese has worked out. But like, a lot of these guys just come in there like a house on fire, end up breaking immediately. I just don't trust Dumas to like not crack, against it. But I don't really think McVey is UFC level, in my opinion. So we'll see. Maybe he'll prove me wrong, but I'm not really buying it. Are you? I mean,
Dumas probably has a lot of bills to pay, John. So maybe he's coming for it early.
I did hear that he recharged his aggression meter in prison. So, it's we'll see how it works out for
that prison strength. Yeah.
Moving on. We have another similar fight here in some respects. We got T-Rex, Terrence McKinney. He's taking on Slava Borchev. Current price on McKinney -172. The comeback on Borchev +147. What do you think, Danny?
This is one I am going to do business with, though, and I did play Terrence McKinney at -170 to win a unit and a half. I think like he could look like a huge favorite here, personally. I know a lot of people will talk about the cardio disparity, really, like in general with McKinney fights, but like Slava doesn't have great gas either, especially when he is grappling. So I think there's a huge finishing upside on the McKinney side. There's a huge grappling advantage on the McKinney side. I think he finishes Slava early. So I think -170 is a great price.
I don't know if I'll lay it, but I do tend to agree. I feel like McKinney is just a much better fighter. I mean, obviously, the obvious caveat with every Terrence McKinney fight is he's one fragile in every round. And also, if it clears a round, you just can't trust him to not collapse. But I will say I think the grappling gap is like massive here. And I know Slava's fought some good grapplers in the past, but it kind of reminds me of the Hooper fight to a degree. And I think McKinney in some respects could be more lethal for Slava. Not because he's a better grappler than Hooper. He's not. But I do think McKinney's physicality is a lot more significant than Hooper's. And like, I know, Mike Davis is he's strong. He's a good wrestler, but Mike Davis isn't really that good of a submission grappler, whereas I think McKinney could just get on top of him and just completely molest him if he wants to in this fight. And I think that's probably what's going to happen. Obviously, the concern with McKinney is like if McKinney doesn't get a round one finish, you are not going to feel great about it,
No, it's gonna be a little sweaty, but again,
I'll say this.
I don't think as much.
I'll say this. I've teased this before just about every Terrence McKinney fight. I think this could be the one where Terrence McKinney wins by decision. I'm gonna put it out there. Everybody's gonna say no. I might do it this time though. If it's probably gonna be like plus 1,000, dude. If can you not picture McKinney just body triangling Slava for 3 rounds? I can picture it. I mean, right? Is it that crazy? He's going to get takedowns for absolutely free in this fight.
But I think he finishes him though. By getting
probably.
I mean, yeah.
Probably. I'm just saying one of these days, Terrence McKinney is going to put on a 3-round grappling clinic and everybody's going to be surprised. It is coming. He is going to go to decision one day. And I'm going to be there when it happens. And I think I might start.
And you're going to bet on it.
I'm kidding. I'm not like passionate about it. I'll probably put like $20 on it, but it's
9-1 on Bet Online. So
that's not even that good, actually. I was hoping to be like plus 1,000 plus 1,150.
We probably will get
maybe not.
Some other
but yeah, I tend to think McKinney probably finishes him early. If he doesn't, I mean McKinney could get knocked out early, and if he doesn't finish Slava early, he'll probably.
You know what's crazy to me though? Like if you not looking at the line, like prop lines, anything like that, it's crazy to me that like both McKinney KO and sub separately are wider than Slava KO. Slava KO is plus 185, and both McKinney KO and sub are like 225.
Well, I think it makes some sense because if Slava's going to win, it's probably going to be by KO, and it's like McKinney probably does have a close to even distribution between KO and sub. Like. We've seen McKinney, I think he's got the same amounts of KOs and subs in his career. And it's like, if he gets the full mount against Slava,
I guess
it's like kind of dealer's choice if he wants to try to choke him unconscious or just pound his face into the ground.
I lean more sub, but yeah, I guess that's fair. Good point.
Yeah. Anyway, we move on. We got Viviane Araujo. She's taking on Tracy Cortez. Current price, Cortez minus 250. Comeback on Araujo, plus 210. I feel like this is priced appropriately. In my opinion, I understand. I understand why people would be tempted to bet Araujo here. Good takedown defense, decent boxer. Decent power for a female fighter. I guess for me, there's a couple things that first of all, Vivi is a decent technical boxer, but she's been outlanded by a lot of fighters. She doesn't cut the cage off particularly well. She does tend to let her opponents get off more volume than she does in most of her fights. Again, no matter what quality of competition opponent she's fighting. Matt Cohen just said in the chat, I has not struck 7 fights in a row. It happens almost every fight.
Yeah.
So even though she's got decent power for a female, it's not like she has big power. I don't think she's going to be having many big moments in this fight. So it's I think on the feet, it's even-ish, and it wouldn't even shock me if Cortez looked a little better on the feet than she did. Cortez's boxing's okay. It's not bad. She got outboxed by Rose, sure, but Rose would outbox Araujo fairly easily as well. So, that doesn't tell me much. Vivi is hard to take down, but Tracy's a really good wrestler, and when Vivi does end up on bottom, she doesn't usually get up. She's pretty bad off her back. She's also pretty gassy and has a tendency to lose round 3s in a lot of fights, whereas Cortez has pretty good cardio. And then you just couple that in, and it's she's 38 years old. I didn't think she looked I bet her against Corrine Silva in her last fight or 2 fights ago, whenever that was. But last fight, yeah. I didn't think she looked particularly good there. I actually thought that would be. I had it pretty big. I thought it would be pretty easy for her because Corrine's gassy, and if you just avoid the sub, is a pretty easy matchup, in my opinion. Obviously, it's easier said than done, but
right.
She did, and it ended up still being a super, super sweaty decision. So I just think she's on the way out pretty clearly. She's at a cardio disadvantage. She's probably going to be at an output disadvantage. Cortez has 2 takedowns, and that's the fight upside. She's much younger. I think 70% is fine. It won't shock me if Vivi defends the takedowns and wins a close decision on the feet, but I just don't see a lot of margin for her winning a dominant decision. Whereas I could kind of picture it from Cortez pretty easily. What do you think?
I think we have a similar view on the fight, honestly. I think the line's fine where it's at. And really, you brought up a great point about the power of Vivi. It's it's not like she's knocking really any girls down at
Yeah,
all.
she knocked out what's her face, Toledo Bernardo, like years ago. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, she's going to be at a huge volume disadvantage. Going to be at a grappling disadvantage. Yeah, I think Cortez by decision is fine.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on, banger fight here. We got Jose Delgado. Yeah. He's taking on Hyder Emil. Current price, Delgado minus 185. The comeback on Emil plus 160. What do you think, Danny?
I kind of have some interest in the Emil side to a degree, but like at the same time, it's like the guy's going to walk through fire really to probably get that win and most wins in general. So, I mean, I really just think it's a highly volatile fight. But though on the Emil side, you have the experience in general. I think the guy brings a higher volume probably. But again, to the point I alluded to earlier, probably going to get punched in the face a lot trying to do so. And Delgado hits super hard, got it huge, versatile attacks, nice kicks. Yeah, Delgado's a decent prospect, just not really tested. So I just think laying the chalk's not great. I just think it's closer to an evenish type of fight.
I've considered betting Emil. I haven't made a decision. What I don't like about it is like I've been trying to fade Emil. Like I faded him pretty big with Gomes, and it's like I just hate like fading a guy
flipping
that,
sides.
I'm not very high on it and turning around. And
that's how I was with Ignacio last week. I even told you I was like we've both been against Ignacio pretty much his entire career for the most part.
That's why I didn't bet him,
and I didn't bet him either. Yeah. Save me some money. It was nice.
And I look at this and I'm like, first of all, I'm like, is it a trap? Like, I'm pretty surprised Delgado is minus 185. Does he really have a lot more hype in the community than Emil does? That kind of surprises me a little bit. Yeah. So I don't know. But then I'm also just like, Jose Delgado, I agree. He's a decent prospect. He's a decent grappler. He's got a decent submission game. Pretty good volume striker with decent power. And his cardio seems to be solid. But he's also fought like nobody, like regionally, bunch of cans. The only guy he fought who's pretty good is McKay, and McKay absolutely dog walked him in their fight. I look at his Contender Series fight with Ernie Juarez, and like he finished it in round 2. But prior to the finish, Juarez was like starting to like find his range and land on him a lot, And I think what's his face? I think that Emil is better than Ernie Juarez, in my opinion, by a lot. He's much more durable. He throws higher volume. He throws harder. He's actually impressed me with his counter grappling a bit. I will say I was super impressed with the Gomes fight. Like I thought Gomes was going to be able to sidestep him and outstrike him with ease all day, and he managed to cut him off way better than I thought. Now, granted, it was in the small cage, so I think that is worth keeping in mind. But still, it really, really impressed me in that fight. He's obviously fought the higher level of competition and beaten the higher level of competition here. His output's more reliable. He just showed us his cardio is actually pretty reliable. So I don't know. I mean, it does seem like a pretty close fight. I guess the things that are sketching me out is the number's weird to me. I feel like Delgado is at a pretty good gym. It's almost certainly improving fight to fight. Whereas, Emil is like, what, he's 35 years old at this point?
Yeah.
Like he's a 35-year-old featherweight. It's not generally something that, guys don't usually get better at that point in their careers. And I think Delgado is a little bit more dynamic than Emil is. But
hey, John, got to throw a little bit of narrative in there too. Last fight out there, Emil rocking the double knee sleeve too.
Yeah, but he looked fine.
I know.
He did. He did.
I'm messing with you. He looked fine in the fight athletically.
I just, I don't know. I kind of feel like Emil is a side, but I'm not super passionate about it because I do think, to your point, like he is hittable and Delgado does throw heat. Like it wouldn't really shock me if Delgado sits him down a couple of times. Yeah, I mean, it is. Brick Squad said it is a huge step up for Delgado, no doubt about it. So I don't know. I haven't made a firm decision on it yet. I do think at the price, you can't fuck around with Delgado at minus 185 at this kind of a jumping competition. No. It's Emil or pass. I just don't know. I'm relatively high on Delgado, but I'm not like super passionate about it yet. So we'll see what happens. Yep. Moving on, and I'll throw it to you here, Lags. We got Gregory RoboCop Rodriguez taking on Jack Hermansson. The current price, Rodriguez minus 202. The comeback on Hermansson plus 172. What are your thoughts here?
I think the line's fine where it's at, to be honest with you, and especially in a 3-round fight too. I favor the finishing upside here, RoboCop. I mean, he's got pretty much all of it. I mean, to me, Jack's win equity just seems very thin margin. Seems like a decision where he's just sticking to moving.
Yeah.
So pretty quick and short for me.
You just think it's going to be Jack winning by sticking and moving?
No. I'm saying if Jack is going to win, that's how he's going to win. I'm saying I think the line is fine how it is, and I think Robocop has way more finishing upside. I think he's got the volume upside as well. Going to be landing the much harder shots.
Yeah, I mean, I bet Gregory at minus 190 to win 2 units. I think he should be like minus 250 to minus 270. I feel like, okay. I mean, dude, he was minus 250 last fight to Cannoneer. Now he's minus 200 to Jack. I bet Jack big against Joe Pyfer. Like I've bet Jack a ton in his career, but I feel like if this was 5 rounds, I'd be much more inclined to be on the Jack side, just since I know Jack's cardio is really reliable. So is his output. But in a 3-round fight, I look at it and I feel like, look at every time, Jack Hermansson's had to deal with, serious physicality. And I'll never forget Liam said this to me before he fought Pyfer. And he was like, Jack's scared of big muscles. And I was like, oh, come on. But like, look at that fight. Look at what happened. The first 2 rounds when like Pyfer had like high horsepower, Jack just kind of fucked off and wouldn't engage him and lost both rounds unanimously. You go to the Marvin Vettori fight, guy who came forward and threw at him. Not exactly a Muhammad Ali of footwork in the UFC. Marvin Vettori came forward and kind of fucked him up. Sean Strickland doesn't even hit that hard, but just went forward. I mean, that was a split, but it was an outrageous split decision. Edmund, while Edmund was fresh, won the first round and a half of their fight pretty easily. And then, he did Edmund things. Every time just about in his career. I mean, Jared Cannonier, Jack, basically just ran away from the fight. Every time he's been faced off against like serious firepower, he has generally tried to avoid the fight. Now it's worked sometimes. Like obviously against Chris Curtis, he was able to just kind of stay on the outside and kick him. But that's because Chris Curtis, like he's a counter puncher who needs you to bring the fight to him. Curtis isn't the guy who's going to pressure you hard. Similar with Diniz, same kind of deal. Diniz is not, he just doesn't have the footwork for it. Now he's fighting Gregory Rodriguez, and it's like, well, I kind of think to your point, that's his upside. It's like a redo of the Armin Petrosian fight where it's like he's going to try to stay on the outside, avoid the fight, and just try to outpoint him to a decision. But like even looking at that fight, Armin's better at that version of the fight than Jack is, and that was an arguably a robbery in my opinion. Agreed. I look at the two of them here, and I feel like Gregory is going to be able to cut him off. Obviously he's got a lot more power than Jack does. He's just a better striker in general. He's just much better in the pocket. He's a better kicker than Jack. Well, the kicking's similar, but he kicks a lot harder than Jack does. I guess the way I think about it is like Joker could win a low volume or a pointy fighting decision, but I feel like all the moment upside is on the Gregory side. I feel like all of the finishing upside, or not all, but a lot of the finishing upside is on the Gregory side. And so it's like, in a 3-round fight, I just feel like you have to favor the guy with much more firepower and, much more moment equity by a fairly large margin. Like, I don't think 65% makes a ton of sense when one guy's going to be the guy who is more harmless is going to be avoiding the fight, and the guy who throws with way more heat is going to be coming forward. So I guess, maybe you could say Jack could out-grapple him. I'm pretty skeptical of that, but I think if he got tired in round 3, maybe bet Nico. Why the fuck would I bet Nico? I literally said I think he's going to get destroyed.
Yeah. Did you listen to the first half of the show there?
Yeah. Anyway, I bet Gregory. I think he should be in the minus 250, minus 270 range here. I just think he's got way too much firepower in this kind of a matchup. Moving on, though, we got Peyton Talbot taking on Felipe Lima. Current price is Lima minus 200. The comeback on Talbot plus 170. I'm kind of torn here. I feel like Lima is... I can see why Lima is the favorite, but I also feel like he's getting a lot of credit that he maybe hasn't really deserved, to be honest, thus far in his career. Obviously, we saw Peyton Talbot get exposed in his last fight by Leone Barcelos, showed pretty poor wrestling. Well, not even poor, but he just couldn't deal with chain wrestling at all. Like, Barcelos, as soon as he'd make a second move, would just put him down and then, hold him there for large chunks of the fight. It's not the first guy to do that to him. A lot of other guys have done that to him throughout his career. Going back to the regional days when he fought Christian Rivas. And I know Felipe Lima subbed Muhammad Naimov in his first fight in the UFC, but like Lima's game isn't really being a proactive wrestler. Like, I think he attempts like 3 to 5 takedowns a fight, and I don't think he's anywhere near the chain wrestler that Barcelos is. Like, I do think he can take Talbot down, obviously. Like, I think over the course of 15, I'd project him to get between like, I don't know, 1 and 3 takedowns, over the course of 15 minutes with Talbot. I do question, though, whether or not he can control Talbot. Like, Talbot will give, the backup, and Lima is a pretty good back taker. But something that really, really bothers me about Lima is two things, really. He's very aggressive when he goes to pass positions and take the back. And like, it's resulted a few times in his career with him falling down and getting stuck on his back because he does not really have much of a get-up game. And I don't think he's all that dangerous from guard either, personally. The other thing is he doesn't really play or put a body triangle in. He just kind of puts traditional hooks in. And like Talbot, now maybe he could snatch a sub doing that to Talbot, but Talbot does get up fast and he does tend to stand up when guys are on his back. And it's a lot easier to kind of fight the legs and get someone off your back if they just have hooks in. They can't just hip into a body triangle, So like, I think it's going to be harder than the market thinks for Lima to control Talbot on his back. The striking is pretty interesting to me because I think Lima's got way better footwork and I think he's got much better shot selection than Talbot has. But Talbot's, so like, I think he'll have some success on the feet. But like Talbot's just so much busier. He's so much higher output. He's so relentless about going forward. It's really hard for someone who kind of wants to play on the outside to deal with that for 3 straight rounds. And like something I can't get out of my head. I know he beat Nemov, but like he wasn't very aggressive with Nemov, and that was on short.
He wasn't winning that fight either.
No, and I know he beat Miles Johns, but by the way, that fight was outside of like the back take he got in round 3. The Miles Johns fight was like very competitive. He only outlanded him like 51-35. He wasn't really getting like way out ahead on minutes. And it's like, Miles Johns is a fine fighter, but like Miles Johns is kind of like, he's like a mid-tier gatekeeper, like not a gatekeeper in the top 20, but it's like, if you're not a top 40 guy, he'll beat you. If you are, you generally can beat Miles Johns. And the fact that like he struggled to separate on minutes from Johns kind of makes me nervous. I think he's the better technical fighter than Talbot. Like it's funny. He's like taping Talbot. It's like, man, Talbot has like so many technical gaps in his game. Like so many technical gaps. But he is a physical force, that we've rarely seen at like bantamweight, like insane cardio, insane durability, insane frame. I mean, it kind of reminds me as like a higher output version of Marlon Vera, obviously worse jiu-jitsu, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, he only had 1 hook in when he subbed Nemov, if I'm not mistaken, right? I mean, it wasn't really like Nemov just kind of
was barely in, yeah.
Nemov like fought the wrong hand and just got under his neck. But I mean, look, Lima's got great jiu-jitsu. I'm not saying he doesn't. I do think the idea that it's just going to be like easy back takes for him is kind of crazy though. But yeah, I don't know. I think Lima's the better fighter. I think he's the better striker technically. I think he's the better grappler. I just feel like it's not going to be as simple as Heoni Barcelos, a really good wrestler, took him down 8 times. Therefore, a guy who doesn't really wrestle that proactively is going to dominate the grappling in this fight. That I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards Talbot. I haven't decided if I'll bet him or not. I just feel like, I mean, Lima does have a big grappling edge, but I don't know. I feel like this is Peyton Talbot was just minus 1,400 against Heoni Barcelos. And now he's turning around and he's plus 170 to a guy who was picking with Muhammad Nemov. Like that makes very little sense to me. Just market alone, you could almost justify a bet on Talbot from that being like, look at how the market's 180ing here. So I might bet Talbot. I'm leaning in that direction. What do you think, Legs?
No, I think we're in a similar boat. I mean, just from where like the line is right now, you have to project Lima to have grappling success. Because on the feet, I do too, but like not to an extent like we're talking about minus 200. Like I think, again, to your point, maybe 1-2 takedowns. Could he find a sub? Maybe. But on the feet, again, to your point, Talbot's going to be landing more volume here. Lima's going to be landing the harder shots. My big issue with Talbot, though, standing is just how wooden he is. He's very up. He's standing very upright.
He is. He's not a good technical striker.
No. I think the Marlon Vera comp was very good.
But look how many guys have struggled with that.
Right. Now, the only difference I would say is obviously I think Talbot's way higher volume than Marlon Vera, but
he is much higher volume.
But yeah, no, it's a good comp. I'm tempted on the Talbot side.
But I will say, I believe Vera's got a black belt, and he's like, he's never been subbed. Maybe he's only been subbed once in his career, I think, whereas Talbot obviously does not have a black belt. And I don't love that Talbot's at like seemingly a gym with nobody at it. Like, I don't know what kind of work this guy's getting in or how, because it's like the thing that discourages me the most about Talbot and the idea of a Talbot bet is it's like this Christian Rivas was grappling this guy on the regional scene. You would think he'd work on it. Nick Aguirre takes his back,
Yeah.
So it's like, has he worked on his grappling at all? When, because he hasn't changed gyms.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if he was serious about this career, like, you should probably. I mean, that's really the main thing you need to work on, really.
Yeah. No, I know, and that's why I'm kind of on the fence. I'm leaning towards Talbot, just like on the market side of this alone. It just like he was getting priced like a future champion one fight ago, and he gets a vet lesson from a guy with over 20 fights, and now he's being treated like he's not a top 25 guy. I don't know. Maybe that is true. Yeah. I will see though.
It's an interesting one.
Moving on, we have a very annoying fight here. Emil Dariush taking on Renato Moicano. Current price, Renato Moicano minus 116. The comeback on Benil minus 104. I believe I had 4 units at Benil on Benil plus 190 the last time this was booked. I believe
you had a pretty half on him. Yeah, like plus 170, I think. Yeah.
I'm obviously not betting minus 104. Like, it's kind of like sickening to see this. And it's like, it's also like, why? What changed? He lost to Islam Makhachev, and now everybody is like abandoning the Moicano bandwagon because of that. Like, what the fuck, man? But I still feel more or less the same way I felt then.
Well, because even about that point in general, like just talking about the line, it's like Benny's been off this whole time too. It's not like he's getting older. He's getting up there in age. And now obviously they're the same age, but yeah.
I feel like, they're the same age. I favor Benny. I did in the first fight too, just because I think he's the more dangerous striker of the two. But Moicano's probably a bit more skilled on the feet, but Benny hits a bit harder, more violent. I also feel like Benny is just the more likely of the two to like get the top position and hold it. Like, I think both can get each other down, but I don't really think Moicano can hold Benil down. It would shock me, to be honest. And I also think he's less likely to take Benil down than Benil is to take him down. Whereas I think if Benil gets on top of Moicano, he can control him. Obviously, they've both been fighting the highest level of the sport. I guess my biggest concern is just like Benny has looked bad in his last few. So it's like I make him a favorite, but only a small favorite. I do think he's aging out. I also think Moicano probably is as well, but like not as visibly as Benny, which is why I was confident going big at plus 190 with him. At like minus 105.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe he continues to age. It's pretty likely. It's what happens to old guys, man. Maybe it flips to where it should be like minus 125 Moicano or minus 140. I'm just like, give me 150 again and I'll take it, but I don't think it's coming. It looks like it's going to flip. So I lean the Benil side. I think he's got, more dominant upside in this fight than Moicano has, but there's a lot of red flags with Benil, a ton of them. And at Pick'em, I'm okay to pass it. I'll pick him to win the fight, but what do you think?
No, I think we have similar thoughts here. I think at that bigger number, plus 150 and north of that, I'd be fine taking the shot on Benny with those red flags. The guy's been off for a year and a half now. I mean, looking definitely his age, and really the big thing, they are the same age, but like you want to talk about just hunger for like the sport. It seems like Renato still has it. Benny, I don't know. You have no idea really, but in general though, like matchup,
Renato at least
it's a great fight for Benny.
Renato has had competitive fights in the top 10 to 15 recently, whereas like the last two Benny had, he got blown out of the water and looked old. Like that's the reality of the situation.
Yeah, so, not great.
Yeah, not great. And like one of them, I think Oliveira was 2 years ago now. It's been a minute, So
seems crazy.
Yeah. Moving on, we have a banger here. We got Brandon Royval taking on Joshua Van. I'll go first and let you rebut lag since I think you feel slightly more passionately than I do. But the current price on Van is minus 125. The comeback on Royval plus 105. I was almost positive I was going to bet Van, going into taping this fight. I felt like, and I do feel like still to a degree that, a lot of Royval's success when it comes to decisions has been on the backs of like airstriking, or not airstriking, but, throwing a lot of empty volume, but a ton. So it looks good. It looks good optically. And a lot of the guys he's fought have accepted it. Even like Brandon Moreno basically lost off of empty volume to him. And my view coming into tape was like, Van is not going to accept it. He is going to pressure forward, get in the pocket, and like bomb heavy shots on him and likely land the bigger, much more eye-catching shots. And I guess I still think that way to a degree, but I do think on looking at it a bit closer that Royval is both a bit more dangerous than I gave him credit for, and I also think just his footwork's a bit better than I thought, and he's a very composed fighter. Like Charles Johnson was about the same dimensions as Royval, and his length gave Van a lot of issues in that fight. I don't think Royval measures distance very well, but I could see his movement and length causing him some issues because, it's not like Van is going to get clean entries into the pocket without shots coming back at him. Royval is going to be putting a jab out there, trying to counter with the left. Like there are going to be openings for him to land on Van. On top of which, like the difference in size gives me some pause because Royval loves to use those elbows and knees inside, and Van being of such short stature should open up a lot of them for him here. And then on top of that, it's like, dude, Royval's been fighting like literally the top of the division. It's like Josh Van just beat Bruno Silva's corpse and Cody Durden. So it does seem like a bit disrespectful. Having said that, I do ultimately think, though, you can't price Royval finish too high. And I feel like Van's game, he should get inside and land, heavy shots here. And I think he will land the more eye-catching shots. But like I went from thinking, oh, Van should be a huge favorite here to like Van minus 125 to like minus 150 is probably fine. Like I don't really want, in general, I don't want to face guys with the pedigree that fade guys with the pedigree Royval has. And
yeah, that's fair.
I'd be more bullish Van if there was grappling upside, but like he's going to give Royval a high action fight. And like I don't really fading Royval in a high action fight kind of scares me, even with someone like Josh Van. What do you think?
I played Josh Van at minus 105 to win a unit and a half. Now, in that high action fight, though, I just think Van's going to be much cleaner and crisper. So, and to your point, land the more eye catching shots. I think he has a much higher chance of finishing than Royval does. Like, I'm not like dismissing Royval finishing the fight in general, but like to me, I think it's skewing to the Van side.
Yeah, that's fair.
It is a big step up, though. And I get, like, when the line, like, originally opened, the Van was, like, that 250 favorite. I get why people were coming in on the Royval side, but at Pick'em, Van's an easy bet.
I think it's a fight that I want to just enjoy, honestly. Like, I don't feel super passionate about it. I'm happy to kind of just sit back and take it in.
Not to mention, on the Van side, it's pretty short notice, too. Remember, this was
he fought a month ago. Although he didn't really, it's not like he took any damage against Silva.
No.
He fucked him up.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Royval and Kopp. That's what it was.
Yeah. Moving on, we got a pretty cool co-main event. We got Alexandre Pantoja taking on Kai Kara France. The current price on Pantoja minus 252. The comeback on Kara France plus 212. You can take it away first, your legs.
You have the kid barking in the background. Dog's live, Right, John?
Yeah, I said take it away.
No, I'm saying similar to the dogs barking in the background. You got kids barking in the background. The dog is live, right? The same connotation there. Honestly, similar to you as a Pantoja fan, I'm a little nervous in some respects for this matchup. Like Kai Kara France has good takedown defense, but my big issue with him in general is like the guy's been fairly low volume, and like the guy's got okay power, but like, Cody Garbrandt, knocking him out's not really impressing me, really. Like, to me, he has to knock out Pantoja here to win the fight. I think over the course of 25 minutes, Pantoja, in terms of the grappling, I think he can pace him in terms of the grappling, can maybe even find a finish there. Pantoja's elite. He's one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the game.
Yeah. I really wanted to get to Kai here. I just think similar to what you just said. I guess my thought going into tape was he'd be more minute competitive than I thought coming out of it. Yeah. I feel like I don't want to say the best case for Kai is Pantoja being shot, but like I think Pantoja's chin is going to probably crack one of these days. And if it is here, Kai's got the speed and stopping power to put him down for sure. And Kai's got really good takedown defense. The problem I see for Kai is just like he hasn't really dealt well with pressure historically, and by pressure, I don't mean big spots. I mean guys like coming at him hard. We saw him have issues with Moreno in their first fight from that. to a lesser degree, Albazi, like he should have gotten that decision, but Albazi kept him on the back foot the whole time. And you could see he never really settled into that fight. And like, that's all he's going to get from Pantoja here. He is going to come forward like a house on fire and put on constant pressure. I do think Kai's going to land some big shots here, probably get some nice calf kicks off. It wouldn't shock me if he's able to like compete in spots or hurt Pantoja or pull rounds that way. But I do think Pantoja is going to outwork him over the course of this fight, even on the feet. And I do feel like one Pantoja takedown, he's probably going to be in deep shit. I shouldn't say it's a sub, but like Kai hasn't looked great when he's been grounded. Like he's got very good takedown defense, but he hasn't looked great when grounded. And unlike someone like Albazi, who doesn't really set up his shots all that well, like Pantoja does set his takedowns up very, very well. And so I think he can have a bit more success wrestling Kai than like some guys have in the past. And I just feel like if he does, he's going to get to his back takes, potentially finish the fight or just win the fight via control. Yeah. I mean, look, Kai can win. He's got power. He can stop the fight. Maybe he can just like, pull off 3 rounds on landing the better shots. I don't think it's that crazy. I'm not like saying play Pantoja at like minus 260, but I do think saying that, Pantoja wins this 7 and 10 times, given like the grappling dynamic and just like the work rate and pressure dynamic, I think makes sense. And it's also like Kai, I mean, what's Kai's best accomplishment is probably knocking out Ursig, in recent years and like losing a close decision to Albazi. I think has he really even earned a title shot, if we're being honest?
And even the Albazi fight, like I thought Albazi was compromised going into that fight, if I'm not mistaken.
No, Albazi just sucks, man.
That too. But I'm not. There was one fight where he was specifically compromised. I don't know if it was that or not, but
I'm not a fan of Albazi. I mean, he's got good jiu-jitsu and he's got some power, but like he's so wooden and his wrestling's not that great. But yeah, I like Pantoja. I lean Pantoja. I'm not betting Pantoja. I feel like he's just going to overwhelm Kai though.
The cannibal.
Moving on, we got the main event: Ilia Topuria, Charles Oliveira. Current price: Ilia Topuria, they buy moving up to lightweight, is a huge favorite. He's minus 450. The comeback on Charles Oliveira is plus 350. What do you think here, Lex?
So I played Topuria to win inside the first 3 rounds at minus 140 to win a unit and a half. Basic thinking to me, I guess, is if Oliveira is not able to get the grappling going early, I think he's kind of fucked, to be quite honest with you. Doesn't move his head that much on the feet. Ili's a much crisper boxer. I think he's going to land the big shots and probably find a kill shot, to be honest with you. And I don't think he's going to be scared to go to the ground once he does knock him down if he doesn't end up finding that finish.
Yeah, that's more or less my view as well, I guess. I mean, look, I think Charles can fit. Look, Jai Herbert almost finished it, Ilia Topuria.
Right.
It will not shock me if Charles Oliveira finishes him. He is a lot bigger. He's a lot longer. He throws a lot of critical shots on the feet. He's got a nasty submission game. I mean, he almost beat Arman Sarukian 2 fights ago. So if you tell me that Charles finds a finish here, I will not be shocked at all. I think you could even argue that he's value at the money line, honestly, just off the danger alone. Like I do think the money line
and the pedigree too.
Yeah, I do think the money line feels a little bit wide. Having said that, I don't really want to get in front of Topuria. I feel like this dude just has. I don't want to say he did hit different at 145, which is another thing, by the way. I was like, I'm not entirely sold his power is going to translate necessarily at 155 the way it did at 145. Like at 145 was the biggest hitter in the division's history. At 155, I'm sure he'll have a lot of power, but I don't know if it's going to be quite that much. But I don't really think Oliveira is going to be able to get him down. And so one of the things that really worries me is like defensively, Topuria is way better. It's like not even close. In the pocket, he's going to be, if he can just avoid the knees, he's going to be way better and way faster. And like Charles has kind of defaulted to like when he gets cracked, just kind of flopping to his back because no one wants to follow him down there.
Right.
I don't think Topuria is going to be very worried about following him to the ground. He's a pretty high level black belt himself. You've seen he's not afraid to mix it up on the mat with like anybody. I think if he hurts him, he'll do what Islam did, follow him down and potentially sub him. Like honestly, Topuria sub, if we get like a decent number, honestly, kind of.
I think it's 6-1.
Really?
Yeah, no, I think it's 6-1 last time I looked. Let me look again.
That actually interests me a little bit. But it's a banger fight. I mean, look. Yeah, Brick Squad just said it in the chat. Charles Clinch and his body kicks could, I think, both play, give Topuria big fits in this fight. Obviously, Charles' knees up the middle could like play a big role in this fight.
All right.
But I do think.
Oh, sorry to cut you off there. You're good. Go ahead.
I do think if Topuria can get in the pocket here, he's a lot younger. I think he's way more durable than Oliveira is. He's a lot faster. His hands are just a lot sharper in there. And I don't I look at like the Max and the Volk fights, and it's like those are two guys who have just insane defense. And Topuria was able to walk them down, get inside, and like put them down. And now he's fighting Charles Oliveira, who has no defense to speak of. And yeah, Charles could finish him. Charles could definitely finish him. Like, no doubt about it. But I don't think Charles is past like 20% here, 25%. I think Topuria is just much more likely to land on the button than Charles is. And yeah, I don't need to be involved. Again, I don't need to be involved on the Charles side here. What were you going to say?
I was going to say the number wasn't 6-1. It's 4-1 actually for the sub.
Yeah, that's still not horrible, honestly, because if he does crack him and Charles goes to the mat, he might just sub him.
I was going to say, plus if you combo those early rounds too, because you're probably looking at an early sub maybe anyways too.
Yeah, I actually agree with that.
Sub round 1, 11-1, sub round 2, 13-1, and sub round 3, 16-1, and that's just bet online.
I don't mind that. I honestly I don't mind that approach to it at all. I feel like I really want to bet Charles, but I just, I look at it and I feel like he's getting, I see the path, like Bricksizer said it. He could go super aggro here and find a finish, but I also think Topuria, if he goes aggro at him, is not going to like fuck off and back up. He's just going to bite down in the middle and put hands on him. Roach asking if we're doing another contest this week. I don't think so. We might, maybe we'll do one in July. Maybe we'll do one for like a next really big pay-per-view. But we'll see.
Make sure we give it to the actual winner, which we did this time secondly, but yes.
That was Roach.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I know.
But yeah, guys, that's my thoughts. The only bet I've made right now is Gregory Rodriguez. I'll probably have a couple more before fight time. I'll write it up on Saturday. I didn't last week because it was a morning card and my kids were driving me insane. But yeah, guys, that'll do it for the show tonight. We'll be back. Actually, I think we have a break after this week for a week.
I think you were saying that again I think you were saying that last week. I want to confirm that.
I think so.
Yep.
Yeah, we got Lewis.
Yep,
July 4th. All right.
Yep.
So we will be back the Sunday after 4th of July weekend, I believe. And we'll do, or maybe the Monday, actually, because I think there might be a party I'm going to that Sunday. I'll let you know. We will get back on the Sunday schedule. We are in the summer solstice right now. Weekends are crazy. We will get back at it, though. But, guys, please, if you like the show, drop a like, subscribe. And, yeah, check us out in 2 weeks. As always.
Real quick. Sorry, I know you're cutting off the outro there, but I think perfect time for the giveaway would be Holloway Poirier 3, his send-off fight. It's a good one.
Yeah, we'll send him off with the giveaway.
Doesn't look like a great card, but send him off with the giveaway.
Yep, that works for me. But yeah, guys, follow me on Twitter, MMA Fox, Danny at Danny_Lags, and yeah, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Take it easy. Peace.